Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
These words from Taps, the last stanza. And last week on Thursday, Alita Stringham from Oakley played Taps and went through the history of this song. And I was so taken by the last stanza. Thanks and praise for our days. Neath the sun, neath the stars, neath the sky. As we go, this we know, God is nigh. Words to remember. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America, followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Come on, Patriots, call in on a Tuesday. Good morning. Oh, thank you very much, and welcome to Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell, and with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with a great big spring tire sale going on right now, and along with some of our great advertisers. Don't forget Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service, 734-6969. Right now, let's have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, how are you?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lorna, thank you so much. God bless you and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and you have a wonderful, wonderful day also.
All righty. Thank you very much. Oh, my goodness sakes, it's time for the weather, and the weather is brought to you by Lennox Home Comfort Systems, along with Ramsey Heating and Electric. They are teaming up to offer you up to $1,700 in rebates. And don't forget, this is on qualifying new Lennox Home Comfort Systems, so you can feel that your house is perfect on the inside. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 678-0459. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Expect the wind to stick around throughout the rest of the week, and we're still going to be having some rain showers off and on throughout the rest of the week as well. Looks like partly cloudy skies for today. Winds out of the west right around 23 miles an hour, looking at a high of 57. Tonight, low of 39. Tomorrow, 90% chance of rain showers in the forecast. Winds are going to continue out of the southwest right around 16 miles an hour. Expecting a high of 49, overnight low of 34. Thursday is really going to be windy. Out of the west, right around 30 miles an hour, looking at a high of 47 under partly cloudy skies, overnight low of 32. For Friday, partly cloudy skies, winds calming down, a high of 51, overnight low of 33. Saturday, finally, looking at a relatively decent day, slightly breezy, mostly sunny, high of 57, overnight low of 37. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you very much. Wheels, check all the controls over there and make sure that the feed line is where it should be and all the gauges. We're getting real fuzzy send from you at the station. So if you would, please, I'd appreciate that. Right now, it's time to tell you about Burley Livestock. And, of course, their sale's coming up on Thursday. Yes, sirree, the sale that works for you. 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. Number to call for cattle consignment and information on the sale, 678-9411. Merv May, Cade Rogge, and Lance Udy. You be sure and be a part of the big sale coming up on Thursday at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard. There you go. And also, I want to remind you, too, about our friends at Daryl's Cleaners. Oh, spring cleaning, all the curtains, all the bed sheets, the covers, the coats, everything. Don't just throw them in a pile and say, well, we'll get to it next fall. No. Get them cleaned and be ready for next fall. I'll tell you what, and if you don't have time to do your own washing, take it into Daryl's. They will wash, dry, fold, and iron all your clothes. Ooh, save you time right there at Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You stop in and see those great folks today. We got a lot of things to talk about today, and a couple of the items. I am absolutely shocked at this one story about jeans. I am not kidding you. I saw this yesterday, and I about fell out of my chair. We're going to get to that in just a moment. I think if you didn't hear this on the news, you're going to just sit there and scratch your head and go, holy cow, are we that lazy? I'll get to it in just a minute. Don't forget Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. And it is America's Diner. My goodness sakes, all the burgers, all the great breakfasts, all the menu items, everything is fantabulous. And the people are so nice. They proved that last week at Lunch Bunch. I mean, Terry and the crew, just outstanding. So stop in today and indulge. Enjoy at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, and 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. It is America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant. Also, real quick, a moment ago we talked about them briefly, and we're going to elaborate a little bit. Denny's, of course, in Burley, so is Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. And the number to call, 678-0459. You might want to call them and say, hey, I need this on the counter. I'm going to zip in there at noon, pick it up, and away we go. They're open 7:30 to 5, Monday through Friday. All your heating, cooling, and electrical needs, and I do mean all. You stop in and see them today. Really great folks at Ramsey Heating and Electric, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. When I heard this, and I know on the scale of things, there's a lot more to be worrying about than this story on jeans, but I just thought we'd start things off with this morning. That a company by the name of Nordstrom's, and they are selling at their stores jeans, dirty, muddy, oily jeans. Are you sitting down? For over $425 per pair. I'm not making this up. I mean, I've seen the jeans, and they're all stained, and they're oily, and they've got fake mud put on the jeans, and they're getting $425 a pair. Now, this supposedly is the rave for the wealthy folks that want to dress down to show people that they are doing something or working at something. This is unbelievable to me. The jeans make you look like you've spent a hard day, and some of the pairs I've seen on television make you look like you were drugged through a sewer. Now, being an entrepreneur myself, quickly after I saw this story on the news, I raced, well, in my case, I limped to the bedroom as fast as I could, and I counted. I have a special, what I call the bottom shelf of jeans in our bedroom. Now, these jeans, those Wranglers, have seen better days. Many and most of which, hold on, caller, I'll be with you in a minute. Many and most of which have holes in various and sundry places. Most of them have oil stains from my fervent attempt to try to be a mechanic somewhat. And a lot of them look like they've been dragged through the feedlot with permanent stains. And I got to figuring it, I got 9 pair 9 pair of these jeans that look absolutely ridiculously old and messy. And at 9 pair times $425 per pair, that's $3,825 that is sitting on my shelf, and I'm losing money. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. You stayed up way too late last night. I just want to tell you about my situation. I always hear the Cowboys. My friend Sonny Bolin, he always wears Wranglers, and he has them dry cleaned, as so do you, right?
Yep.
And why do you people do that? Well, I'll tell you what. I was at this Betsy's secondhand store here in Burley, and one day, and I just happened to see a pair of Wrangler jeans. And so I decided to go ahead and try them. They were only $4. I couldn't go too far wrong. Zeb, those are the most comfortable jeans I have ever worn.
Well, that's all well and good, but now think about this from the other side of this story. The rich and famous are trying to imitate that they've done something as far as work is concerned. So they're going out and they're spending $425 on a pair of jeans that make it look like you were out changing the oil in a diesel Mack truck or whatever the case might be. And they're nothing more than phony, dirty jeans. And here's the thing. Even if they're real wealthy, would you, Keith Cottom, and Nancy, your lovely wife, would you want someone to come to your home wearing those fake dirty jeans, not knowing that they're fake dirty jeans, and invite them into your home to sit on your furniture?
No way.
Okay.
It's repulsive to even see it on TV.
Yeah, it is.
I seen that last night, and it repulsed me. The only thing that repulsed me more was when they had Kate Lynch.
Oh, we're going to talk about that in just a little bit, but I got another call waiting. Keith, God bless you, man. Thanks for your call. I appreciate it.
Keep on wearing those Wranglers.
I will, buddy. Thanks. I will.
Don't get them in the mud.
I can't help it sometimes. Anyway, caller number 2, I'll be right there. Please bear patience with me because I've got to get this in. Barry Equipment and Rental. Sales, service, and parts. They have all the equipment to get the job done right. Locations at South Lincoln and Jerome, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. And, hey, they've got all the Bobcat excavators. I got to get a hold of a Bobcat and get to work once it quits raining. And they've got the new and the used excavators for sale or rent. Lots of them. You get a hold of them today, Barry Equipment and Rental. Along with those Walker lawnmowers, 0% interest for 48 months. Mow and use what the pros do, the Walker mowers. Jerome, Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, Barry Equipment and Rental. Also, real quick, caller, before I get to you, I want to remind everybody about Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Holy cow, got an ache, got a pain, got a strain? Well, I'll tell you what, recuperating from surgery or an accident, whatever, they can help. They will help you get back to being you. All you have to do is call and make an appointment at 678-1191. And by the way, too, they've got the only hydrotherapy pool around, and it is great. I know firsthand, been in it hundreds of times. So you be sure and get a hold of them. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, 678-1191. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
I just had a brainstorm on these dirty jeans.
Well, I did too, to the tune of $3,825 on my shelves.
No, mine's to help people on Social Security.
Uh-huh.
Get all the people that are on welfare and food stamps, give them a new pair of jeans and say, okay, you go work, get them dirty, bring them back to us. We'll give you $200 for every pair of dirty jeans you bring back.
Yeah, but it has to be dirty.
For $400, takes $200 of that and gives it to the senior centers.
There you go. There you go. No, I tell you what the problem is, Doug. This story just amplifies the problem in America today, that people have to fake being working or doing something constructive or whatever. They want to fake so they can try to fit in as a working class. This is idiocy personified.
It is. It really is. It's everybody gets a trophy.
Yeah.
You know, you can go buy a pair of jeans that look like you work. Had I known these holy jeans and torn jeans and faded jeans had been so popular when I was younger, hauling hay and working on the farm, I'd have saved every pair that I threw away. Then I'd have resold them later, and I wouldn't have had to work.
I tell you what I did, and I'm just absolutely sitting here tearing my hair out at the money I wasted. I went through and, okay, wait a minute, back up the bus here for just a second. As you know, being in the rodeo business like I have been for over the last 45 years, a lot of the jeans that I wear are very nicely pressed and starched, and when they finally start to give out and fade drastically, then I use them for around the ranch, riding horses and everything else. Okay, big deal. But when I start to think about the jeans, and this is not a funny story, it makes me cry. I did get a little bit of weight on over the last couple of years with my health problems and everything, and I went from, and I'm not ashamed to say it, a 34 waist to a 36. I had about 20 pair of 34s that I took down to the, what do you call that place for the clothing where you give it away? All of a sudden my mind went blank.
Youth Ranch?
Yeah, the Goodwill, basically.
Yep.
So you take all those pairs of jeans times $425 a pair, you and I could have flown to Tahiti with our wives.
Exactly, buddy. Put them on eBay and sold them.
Holy man!
I know it. You know, and these kids that buy these jeans got these holes tore in them. I mean, I don't understand it. When I was growing up, if your jeans looked like that, your mother would not let you out of the house.
Oh, my mom and dad wouldn't. But I'm telling you, my mother, the minute that something got ripped, she was either darning it. Remember the word darning? They'd always darn it up and everything. And she'd fix it up, and if it got beyond reparation with any darning or anything else, look out, dude. Those comfortable jeans had seen the trash pile.
Dust rags.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But have you ever worn socks that have been darned?
I don't like it because it hurts my feet.
Just like putting a rock in your shoe and
No
putting them on
kidding.
and walking around.
Yeah, no kidding. But, you know, here's the thing with these jeans. I mean, it just shows you the phoniness of the elites in our society, that they are willing to go to any measure, and this is, I think, a ridiculous measure, $425 for a pair of jeans that look like they got drugged through a sewer.
I know it. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, everybody gets a trophy.
Yeah.
That's the deal. And remember the cowboy hats? Those straw hats you used to wear in the summertime, and by the fall they were just literally almost destroyed.
Well, yeah.
And then it come the fad where everybody was buying these hats that out of these stores for high dollars. That
I know
like
it.
They've been worn all summer and worked in.
You can honestly, and I've said this a lot at various speeches I give around the country, you can find out who the real phonies are. I mean that when I say phonies. The real phonies, the wannabes, the never-wills, but the wannabes that want to fit in, maybe to a Western crowd or whatever, just by the way they wear their clothes. You can tell it at a drop of a hat.
Yes, sir, you can.
All right.
Hey, I'm going to go let this other caller get in, and just a reminder, everybody, let's take care of our senior centers. Donate what you can, help when you can.
All right, Doug. And
their facilities.
And I understand that you're going to have a style show at the end of the month, and you're going to be wearing a pair of these oily, dirty jeans.
Well, yeah, I get mine washed about every other day.
See you later, buddy.
Okay, bye.
All right, thanks. Caller, stand by. I'll be right with you. Don't forget, Ag Express Incorporated is looking for drivers They're looking for you. Call Dale and Paul at 438-8886. Alan in Twin Falls, 731-2495. Russ in Burley at 431-7175. They're looking for full and part-time positions, and they'll work around your schedules. And retired folks are welcome to apply, too. New and maintained equipment, vacation schedules, benefit programs. What are you waiting for? Run to the phone and call Ag Express. They're looking for drivers. They're looking for you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Oh, good morning again. I'm getting very nostalgic right now. Can you remember, well, I'm about 10 years older than you, but can you remember the quilts people used to make out of jeans?
Oh, yeah. My wife has made a couple of quilts out of jeans.
Yeah, that's, that old saying, wear it out, do it or do without.
Yeah.
That certainly was the word of the day back then, because you wore those jeans until there wasn't any more good in them for wearing, and then you made quilts out of them.
Yeah.
And I think that's just being plain resourceful.
I do, too.
And there wasn't any dirt on them either.
No. Deanne has made some very, very innovative and really pretty, if you will, quilts out of jeans and other resourceful material, and they look really nice. They're very Western-oriented, and I appreciate them. But for the phonies, the phony, fraud, rich, wealthy, naive, stupid people that have never got their hands dirty, let alone their jeans, to go out and spend $425 on a pair of jeans that are oiled up and muddied, you got to admit, Keith, our society is really screwed up.
Yeah, just think of what a quilt made out of those dirty jeans and everything is supposed to be worth. What, $10,000?
I'm laughing, but I'm crying at all the money I lost.
They have more money than they need.
Amen. Hey, God bless you, man. Thanks for your call. Appreciate it. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Look at all the denim shirts, the Wrangler denim shirts. I'll bet you I have had hundreds in the last 40, 50 years. I like to wear denim shirts. I wear them a lot. I've got a great big, 6, 7, 8 hanging in my closet right now. I like denim shirts. And can you imagine what they're worth right now with these rich people that want to wear something like that and pretend that they've actually worked? It's unbelievable. Hey, don't forget Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more. They got a great big sale going on called the No Tax Plan Sale. And no money down, no interest for 12 months on approved credit. Jason Lee and the rest of the folks over there have hit a home run. Living room sets on sale, recliners on sale, beauty rest closeout mattress event, and oh my goodness, they've got all kinds of carpeting. What a sale for you going on till the end of this month of April. You better stop in today. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more. 459 Overland and Burley with a great big no tax plan sale going on. You stop in and see them today. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Bruce, I'm going to call him by his real name, Jenner, a trans woman, was on Tucker Carlson last night. I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. Thursday this week, and by the way, if you haven't called and RSVP'd, you better do it today. Caller, I'll be right there. Stand by. Thursday at the Minnetonka Chamber of Commerce at 12 noon, Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, is going to put on a very important brain, hearing, and technology seminar. And lunch will be provided, but you got to RSVP. Call 312-0957. That number again, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids with a big seminar at the Minnetonka Chamber of Commerce this Thursday. And real quickly, too, don't forget, every Monday we give away cookies, a dozen cookies to Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. Oh, those are good cookies. I wish I could win. And don't forget, now they're also serving maple scones over there. Oh, restaurant and bakery extraordinaire. Fantastic food. You're going to love Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
How are you?
I just had a little thought. You know, when I went to school as a child, and this is definitely going to date me, we wore dresses as little girls.
Uh-huh.
We weren't allowed, and even when we were in high school, graduating, we had to buy a special ticket on special days to be able to wear pants. And the psychology behind that was because if we were dressed like little girls and ladies, we would behave like young ladies
Okay.
and not monkeys and rowdy. And so you have to wonder what the psychology is behind all of this, being dressed in dirty jeans, and what is this going to do to maybe the reaction and the behavior of people.
Whoa, wait a minute. You bring up an excellent point. Let's talk about that for a second. What is, in your opinion, the mindset? First of all, somebody walks into a store like Nordstrom's, and they're getting a heck of a lot of publicity over this. And you go to a shelving area where they have a great big pile of dirty, filthy, muddy, oily, stained jeans. And you go, oh, wow! And you go up to the counter and haul out your cash of $425 a pair. You tell me what the mindset is.
I think the mindset of people that fall for that is the sheep mentality. They're just on the conveyor belt of not thinking, and they want to be whatever is said to them. It's just another desensitizing and training them to be part of the flock without thinking. Because you can't wear something like that. I mean, you know how you feel when you dress up for special occasions. It does make a difference in how you feel and how you act. It's a real thing.
Let me tell you something.
It's just another step in the direction of trying to have people step down, because it's going to affect the youth. I mean, look at the age it will affect. It's not going to affect you and I.
No.
But it will affect the younger generation that's trying to fit in.
I don't think...
It's another step down and another crushing of the younger generation to fit the mold of everything they've got designed that's derogatory.
I agree with you. You had some excellent phrases, the conveyor belt mentality and everything. I really appreciated that. You know, I am very fussy, and you can criticize me if you want to. It's not going to hurt me. I'm very fussy about what I wear and dress as in public. I believe that we have certain images that we have to portray to the public. I believe because of the nature of my lifestyle being in the Western motif, if you will, with the rodeo business, the horse industry, etc., I would be amiss if I wore anything other than Western clothing, because I'm not going to be fake and phony. However, I dare somebody to tell me that when I'm out in public, they have ever seen me hardly at all, unless I've just come into town to get some parts or get something for the ranch, in dirty clothes. But I always wear a pair of pressed Wranglers, shined-up boots, a nice sports shirt, whatever. But to go into a store and give $425 for a pair of these filthy-looking jeans, I wouldn't let these wealthy people in my house to sit on my furniture.
I totally agree. But I think there's a bigger thought behind that. You know, in traveling, it was very interesting when my husband and I went to Italy, how to see the difference. And when this trend and our American people go over there, I mean, they very properly dress. They dress to just go like you do. You know, you're either working and you dress up as respect and as your signature of who you are, and you go out into public. In Italy, they're dressed, you'll see women in suits and heels and on scooters, but they do not go out in public unless they're properly dressed. And this is what they have been taught from the time way back.
Well, wait a minute,
and
though.
My mother taught us that.
Now, wait a minute, though.
Now it's getting less and less and less.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a whole lot easier to, this sounds a little extreme, and I don't mean, but I do mean it. It'll be a lot easier to riot and to be all of these things that they want our younger generation to participate in when they're already a mess, because they're presenting themselves to the public image as a mess.
Okay, let me ask you this, though, and then I've got to do a commercial break, and I'd welcome other calls, too. And a lot of people think I'm being sexist on this, and I'm not, because a lot of guys look like a bunch of porky pigs going to town in clothing that absolutely is, I think, not acceptable. But I have done my own little survey of sitting out in parking lots in shopping centers waiting for my lovely wife, and I think you will agree with me that women today, now please bear with me on this, and I'm not going to apologize, I'm going to say it once and mean it, I think women today do not take as much pride in their appearance as they used to. Your thoughts?
You're totally correct. You can go to Walmart and see pajamas.
Yeah.
All hours of the day. But we need to be more careful in how we present ourselves, because it expresses how you're feeling and what your self-esteem is. And there's a lot of emotional and psychological things tied to how we're dressed.
Amen.
It's important. And so this should be a warning, I think, this new style to mothers and parents and grandparents to maybe, step in and teach our younger generation to be aware of these things and don't let them influence you just to be one of the conveyor belt people.
I love that. I love that phrase. Ma'am, you are welcome to call anytime. I've enjoyed our conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
God bless. Thank you. Thank you. Your thoughts? I'll stand behind that statement. And I know some of the gals that are women's liberals and feminists out there, they're going, how dare that man say something like that women today are just not taking pride in themselves. I'll stand behind that statement. Not all women, for heaven's sakes, I didn't say that. But a vast majority, some of the things that you wear to town, some of the things that you wear shopping, holy smokes. I didn't know the carnival had moved to town. Don't forget Scott Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service. Oh, my goodness sakes. They can help repair your sprinkler systems. They can put in new ones, and now's the time to get a hold of them at 438-2485. Set up an appointment and take care of it today. And don't forget, too, they can help you with your landscaping and your fruit tree trimming. This man's a sharp dude, knows trees, I'll tell you. Scott Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service. The number to call, 438-2485. You get a hold of him today. I can just imagine some of the ladies out in the audience are going, oh, that's that bell. Oh, that man. Well, I'm going to tell it like it is on this program. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I broke down and laughed a great big belly roll laugh last night because it was so stupid what a Democrat said on television yesterday. I mean, I listened to what he said, and I thought, you have got to be kidding me. And I'm going to be paraphrasing. But one of the Democratic Party leaders said how happy they were with the progress from not getting beat so bad in various races. Think about what I just said. They were so happy they were with the progress from not getting beat so bad in various races. He said they were ecstatic about losing with narrower margins. That's like an NFL team, like my Green Bay Packers, losing to like the Chicago Bears, and the coach and the players in the locker room later jumping up and down saying, oh, wow, we only lost by 10 points. I've never heard of anything so silly in my life. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Zebediah, how are you this morning?
I am fantabulous. How are you?
Well, I'm good. I just wanted to comment. Last time I saw you, you couldn't get into a pair of 32s, maybe on one leg.
Well, that's kind of a personal thing to say. If you're looking for a fight, I'll give you one.
No, I'm just looking for a little comment from you.
I haven't worn...
I think you...
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say I'd never bragged about wearing 32s. I wear 34 waist with the 36 length, and I will admit in the last couple of years I've had to bump that up a little bit to a 36, but you're not exactly the poster boy for Slim Fast yourself.
You are absolutely right, and I'll be the first to admit it.
Okay, buddy.
Hey, we'll see you. Have a good day.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. It's always nice to get a real complimentary phone call. I love it. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, I can't help but go back to the story on the jeans for just a second. Can you imagine, honestly, like on Long Island, New York, where all the snobs and the elitists live? Seriously, there's a great big bunch of snobs and elitists there, and they have these parties, you know, where all the rich people gather out on their tennis courts and everything else. Can you imagine? And it's going to happen. It'll happen this summer for sure. Can you imagine a party where all these folks are going to come in the latest fashion trend, looking like they had just cleaned out a septic tank or whatever? That's the fashion trend. Well, we just want to try to live like the poorer folks and understand how they feel and dress like we're showing them that we appreciate their work. Oh, come on, give me a bunch of... That's a marmalade sandwich. Anyway, $3,825 I've lost because I got rid of those oily, dirty jeans. I could have made a whole ton of money. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Bruce Jenner, like I said earlier, a trans woman, was on Tucker Carlson last night. It was so sick and so perverted, and I got to say this, and I mean this. I respect Tucker Carlson. I think he does a good job. But last night I thought he dropped the ball and did not ask questions that should have been asked, especially when Jenner made the comments about fighting for special rights for the LGBT community. He dropped the ball and did not pursue that, and that's something that should have been asked. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hi, good morning, Zeb. This is Shelley calling. Thank you for taking my call. Concerning the jeans, I'll tell you what. I would never spend $425 for dirty jeans, and I would want to buy brand new jeans, and I would want my own dirt on them. Who knows where those jeans have been? Who knows if, when they even developed those jeans, whoever wore them, they could have put some GMO germs in them, to spread some, contaminant to appeal to whoever. But also another thing, I'm wondering if, I would not claim it for sure, but I'm thinking, maybe Nordstrom is trying to appeal to the illegal aliens that come in and that are druggies, and trying to help the illegal aliens to look like they're assimilated into the system. Who knows what's going on?
Yeah, who knows what
One positive thing that might come in handy to have one pair of jeans would be like if you were an actor on a theater and you wanted to look like some cowboy or farmer or something that worked hard, and one pair of those might come in handy. But I would never pay $425 for someone else's dirty jeans.
I agree with you, and I've got to run to a weather forecast right now. I'm running a little bit late, but I appreciate your concepts and your thoughts. Very well said this morning. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Weather forecast brought to you by Riverview Urgent Care at 382 North Overland in Burley, and, of course, Twin Falls Urgent Care, 2392 Addison Avenue East in Twin, and Jerome Urgent Care, 133 West Avenue A in Jerome. Minor emergencies, major care. The doctor will see you now, not in 4 or 5 days. My goodness, they're open 7 days a week, and they can help you. They will help you at the urgent cares. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Expect the wind to stick around throughout the rest of the week, and we're still going to be having some rain showers off and on throughout the rest of the week as well. Looks like partly cloudy skies for today. Winds out of the west right around 23 miles an hour, looking at a high of 57. Tonight, low of 39. Tomorrow, 90% chance of rain showers in the forecast. Winds are going to continue out of the southwest right around 16 miles an hour. Expecting a high of 49, overnight low of 34. Thursday, it's really going to be windy. Out of the west, right around 30 miles an hour, looking at a high of 47 under partly cloudy skies. Overnight low of 32. For Friday, partly cloudy skies, winds calming down, a high of 51, overnight low of 33. Saturday, finally, looking at a relatively decent day, slightly breezy, mostly sunny, high of 57, overnight low of 37. That is your weather for Zebeth Ranch.
She does a great job. Thank you, Gina. Brought to you by the Riverview Urgent Care in Burley, Twin Falls Urgent Care, Twin Falls, and Jerome Urgent Care, 133 West Avenue A in Jerome. Oh, minor emergencies, major care. You stop in and see them today. Also, quickly reminding you that Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, the birds are singing and the flowers are blooming, but I'll tell you what, they're also offering up to a $1,700 rebate on qualifying new Lennox home comfort systems that can keep your home feeling perfect inside. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. You know, one thing I want to say this morning is that we talked briefly about this, a week ago, that the city of Twin Falls, and I'm going to be very cautious with my verbiage here this morning, the city of Twin Falls wants to turn Twin Falls into a welcoming city. Yeah. And a gentleman by the name of David, I hope I say his last name, pronounce it right, David Bastow of Twin Falls had a letter in the paper this morning that was a very well-written letter. And the city asked for input on some of the wording for being a welcoming city. And he said the resolution should read as follows, and I agree with him. As a welcoming city, the city of Twin Falls invites all law-abiding citizens, legal immigrants, and legal refugees to come and help the community grow, prosper, and be a welcome, safe place for all to enjoy. However, as such, the city of Twin Falls is not a sanctuary city, and the city intends to enforce the state and federal laws relative to legal immigration and illegal refugees. Did I say illegal? I meant to say relative to illegal immigration and illegal refugees. He was spot on with what he had written in this letter. But I will bet you this. This verbiage, which is absolutely the way it should be, will not be inclusive into the input that they'll put on the language or in the language to become a welcoming city. We'll see. I'm going to save that. Calls welcome 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. On a related note to that, pardon me, it's hay fever time. They had a couple of Arizona ranchers on the radio or television this morning from down right on the border of Arizona and Mexico. And both of these ranchers were absolutely praising Donald Trump for his actions and his thoughts on building a wall and securing our border to stop illegal and illicit happenings coming into this United States of America. And I was really shocked and taken aback when one of the ranchers was asked how many illegal aliens had literally crossed his property over the last decade or more that could be documented and proven by the Border Patrol. And he looked at the camera and never even hesitated, and he said, over 500,000. Think about that. Over 500,000 illegal aliens have trod across his property and brought their garbage, left their garbage, cut his fences, and destroyed his property over the last 10 years. 500,000 that he said can be verified and documented by the Border Patrol. And then you wonder why these folks on the border are absolutely tearing their hair out over a lack of help from the national government. Ay, 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 ay. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, give me a call. Excuse me. Later on this morning, next half hour, we're going to be talking about that same subject matter with Frosty Woolridge. And I really feel sad because today is the last day for over 6 months that we're going to have Frosty on our program. He's going to go on an extended tour of the United States with his lovely bride, and he's going to be gone for a while. And then at 9:30 this morning, Fred Campbell is going to be on my program. He's a first-time guest, and he's going to be talking about the left, the Democrats, wanting to take control of the Internet. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi.
Hi.
I heard something interesting on TV last night.
Oh, and what would that be?
Who it was that said that Trump's approval ratings are skyrocketing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the pollsters can hardly stand it because they go out looking for negativity, and Americans like his strong comments. In fact, if he were being elected today, he would have raised his margin about 16%.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Americans are so glad to hear this tough talk. What happened to, I know in other parts of the world, you sneak into their country and you're going to get a ride out with no trespass and don't come back again invitation.
You know, look at this, Chris, what's going on in North Korea. 3 Americans that were there legally as visitors have been taken prisoner and hostage. And here
just yesterday.
Yeah. No, hang on. Just hear me out quickly. But here in this country, we basically have rolled out the red carpet for illegal and illicit happenings and people coming into our country, and they can go and come as they please. This is idiocy.
Well, I do believe we have the new sheriff in town. I really don't believe that Trump is going to let that keep on keeping on.
I hope you are right, my dear, and I wish you to call a little bit earlier. I had more time, but I got to do a commercial and then go to the news. But have a wonderful day and stay out of the wind.
Oh, my gosh, it's terrible out there.
It is.
Okay, I'm going to stay out of the wind.
All right, God bless. Thank you. Hey, don't forget, doing the right thing matters, and they always do the right thing at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Big spring tire sale. Oh, my goodness, yes. All kinds of different tires, tread designs on sale for your cars, pickups, SUVs, boat trailers, horse trailers, whatever you need tires for. You stop in and work with the best, the friendliest, and they offer the greatest in service. Your Magic Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. There's nobody better than your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You stop in and see them today. Big meeting tomorrow at the White House. All 100 of our senators, all of them, have been invited to discuss the very challenging task of how to deal with North Korea. They're going to be talking to Trump tomorrow at the White House, and that's going to be a very interesting story. We're going to take a little break and let the big boys from CBS come in and mess things up, and we'll be back in about 7 minutes. Zeb at the Ranch on a Tuesday. Talk to you in a few minutes. Oh, and away we go. Hour number 2. Blustery, blustery day out there, like old Phineas T. Bluster of the Howdy Doody Show. Remember that from way back in the 50s? Holy cow, I'm old. Anyway, good morning, Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations right now with the great big spring tire sale. And, of course, some of our great advertisers like Western Way Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Way Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Way Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Way Services.
Always at your disposal, very loyal to the community and the people that they serve. And if you're planning an event this year, a wedding outside, a class or a family reunion, special birthday party, outdoor concerts, great! Hundreds and hundreds of people! But don't forget the porta potties. The potties for your party. You gotta get them, and they've got them at Western Waste Services. Always at your disposal. That's right. Really committed to serving you. All you have to do is call them at 734-6969 and get the potties for your party. There you go. Hey, by the way, too, don't forget on Mondays, we have a program at 9:15 in the morning on my program. That is Vicky's Country Garden, Gardening for Idiots. It's a program named after me to teach me and others how to garden correctly. Well, I'll tell you what, the lovely Miss Vicky handles the program, and she's been in business for over 20 years at Vicky's Country Gardens, 185 South, 600 West of Paul, and the number to call, 438-5663. You know, I have the honor, and I mean it as an honor. This lady called me about a month ago, and she said, you know, we'd be interested in running some advertisements on your program. And I said, great. Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center. And the more I found out about it, the more I realized this is really something you need to know about for your loved ones that maybe can't take care of themselves on a 24/7 basis. Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center at 924 Christian Way in Rupert. The number to call for more information, 436-3200. That number again, 436-3200. And they encourage the public to visit their facility anytime for tours and check out their facilities. Man, these are nice, nice people serving you. They're small compared to some, but with a bigger heart than most. Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center, 924 Christian Way in Rupert, 436-3200. And real quick, before we go to our guest, I know he's chomping on the bit right now, want to remind everybody about Ark Animal Hospital. And now is the time to take your dogs and puppies in and make sure they're vaccinated for that parvovirus. Very contagious, very deadly virus. Make sure that your dogs are vaccinated for the parvovirus. All you have to do is call them at 678-1177, Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street in Hayburn, and it is so true. They have warm hearts for cold noses. Right now, I don't know if his nose is cold or not, but I'll tell you what, here's Frosty Woldridge in Golden, Colorado. Good morning.
Good morning, Zeb, and happy Tuesday morning, and all the best. Springtime is springing, and Yahoo! Let's get to it.
Yahoo! Okay, Buckaroo. Before we go too far, I'm going to say this up front, and then I'm going to say it again at the ending of our segment. Dadgummit, old pard, I'm going to miss you for the next 6 months.
I'm going to miss you a great deal myself, and I'm going to miss your fantastic audience. It's a bittersweet thing. As I discussed last week, I got to get on the road, got to have my adventures, got to write my books, so this is just part of that. But I'll be back in October, so if you got a place for me in October, I'll be ready to go.
Well, it's not a question about whether to have a place for you or not. We're going to make a place for you. Frosty, this morning on the news, and this was very poignant for anybody that was paying attention. They had a couple of ranchers from Arizona on the news that have had their property just absolutely run over and cast asunder and garbaged and everything else because of the illegal aliens coming into our country. And one rancher said that over the last 10 years, the Border Patrol had documented that there were over 500,000 people that had gone through his property, cut his fences, left garbage all over on their way up to the northern part of the United States. This is insane.
Well, it's more than that because I've been down to the border in the last 10 years 3 times from Brownsville all the way to San Diego. I have personally seen the literally tons and tons and tons. I would say it's probably safe to say that something in the vicinity of 40 to 50 I can tell you this. There's garbage and filth and trash and human defecation, toilet paper, backpacks. As a matter of fact, just give this number out to anyone who... The average illegal alien that crosses the border drops 8 pounds of stuff as they come into the buses that take them to the safe houses, which then take them to the illegal employers like Hormel or like Tyson or like Marriott or like McDonald's or Chipotle's, you name it. All the people that are hiring illegal aliens, they're the ones that are essentially the reason for the 8 pounds of trash per illegal. And for anyone who wants to follow up, the CIS, Center for Immigration Studies, CIS.org, with Dr. Stephen Camarada, whom I know and have worked with for 20 years, his documentation shows that 500,000 illegal aliens come through our border every year. 500,000. So take 500,000 times 8 pounds of trash, and there you have it. We're talking literally millions of tons of trash, complete desecration of the desert, both visually but also ecologically. And it's beyond understanding is how the U.S. Congress could sit there and not want to build a wall or not want to defend our country or not start internally enforcing our laws. It is exasperating to me. I know it's exasperating to you, but that's what's going on. And I can say, absolutely, Idaho's 2 senators haven't done anything to stop the illegal immigration. Neither has the House rep. And that goes with my state senators, both Michael Bennett, and Cory Gardner, and even Mike Kaufman, who's a colonel in the United States Marine Corps. These men in office representing us in the U.S. Constitution have done nothing to stop illegal immigration into our country, let alone the over 1 million legal immigrants that keep pouring in each year.
I'm optimistic, though. I really am, that after listening to these ranchers this morning and listening to what they said in praising Trump and the tougher stance that Trump has already taken with Attorney General Sessions and others visiting the border and saying clamp down on it, the one rancher said that he estimates, in a personal opinion of himself, that 90% have already look for another way to get up here to the United States instead of his property. So there are some bright spots.
Well, there are some bright spots. And obviously Trump has created the discussion. But again, you've got 30 to 40% visa overstays into our country. And again, as I've said many times, and I'm going to segue into this book that I have read, we're on course to add 100 million immigrants legally into our country within 30 years. That is a reality that no one understands, and no one except this audience, because you've heard me for 15 years, but the whole rest of the country thinks that we can take on another 100 million immigrants. And I just read this book. It's called Scarcity, Humanity's Final Chapter, The Realities, Choices, and Likely Outcomes Associated with Ever-Increasing Non-Renewable Resource Scarcities. And it's by Christopher Clugston, and I met him. And he says, and I'm just quoting here, because the natural resource utilization behavior that enables our current success as an industrialized way of life, and that is essential for perpetuating our success, is simultaneously undermining our very existence. Neither our natural resource utilization behavior nor our industrial lifestyle paradigm is sustainable. This is our predicament. Folks, we are about to run out of water to give the crops, to irrigation. We are literally on the edge, if you want, whether it's 10 or 30 years from now, the oil and certainly the resources that this book talks about. We've got 80 minerals and metals in this book that run this society, whether it's your cell phone, whether it's the zinc or the lead in your battery, all these different minerals and metals. There's about 80 of them, and we're nearly at exhaustion levels right now for half of them. And yet we're sitting here as a society, and everyone in this society is going to be affected when all of this comes down around our ears. And again, as I said, we are on course to add 100 million more people to this country in 30 years. I'm exasperated as you are, and you made the comment yesterday to me that we feel like we're we're climbing up a mountain backwards with a 100-pound pack on.
Right.
And that's about it. Zeb, I don't know why the American people or why the leaders or how the leaders think we're going to be able to sustain this society with another 100 million immigrants.
Yeah, but wait a minute.
I just cry every day because of what I know, and this book right here just really brought it home.
Well,
there it is for you. I hope at some point you start a revolution of thought in this country to get the senators and the House reps to shut down all immigration. Because if we don't, we are going to be toast on multiple levels, whether it's sociological, whether it's environmental, whether it's quality of life. And I know I've said it before, but we have got to get this to the forefront of the American people so that we have a chance and a choice to shut down all immigration to save our civilization.
What part of too many and what part of non-safe, what part of not vetted properly, what part of changing the culture and our heritage do they not understand? I don't want to have a change in the culture. I don't want to have a change in our history and our heritage that made this country great. I don't want a bunch of people coming in here that want to diversify and change and possibly change the political landscape and our Constitution, etc. I don't want that.
Well, there's some people that want to change that. As a matter of fact, if you talk about the Bilderbergs or the Council on Foreign Relations or the Trilateral Commission or the UN Agenda 21 and also Agenda 2030, these are all mandates to literally infiltrate Canada, the United States, Europe, and Australia with all of these third world people. And the key, and this is by a Dr. Noel Ignatieff, and he says the key to solving the social problems of our age is to abolish the white race, unquote.
Yeah.
And he says there is no place in modern Europe for ethically pure states. This is a 19th century idea, and we are trying to transition into the 21st century, and we are going to do it with multi-ethnic states. And so who is we? And the thing is, and he says it right here, and this was by Nicolas Sarkozy. He was the former president of France. He said the goal is to meet the challenge of racial interbreeding and not to intermarry racially is bad for a country. I mean, what these people are saying is just flood first world countries with all these third world countries and all their people to literally degrade everything that was and is America and Canada and Europe. And it's all spelled out here. And the person who wrote me this stuff just came back from 18 years in Saudi Arabia and Afghanistan, Iraq, and the oil fields. And he says, if we don't stop this thing, we are not going to survive what's coming at us.
Absolutely.
Do I make sense?
Absolutely. Wheels, we got a little bit of feedback on the line. Watch that over there at the station, please. Frosty, I want to change gears a little bit because I know that you're very aware of this story. But Ann Coulter was invited to speak at Berkeley, and it was due this Thursday, the 27th. And then the weaklings, the spineless, these absolute cream personalities down there in California thought, oh, no, we can't have her speak. She's a conservative, and they've looked for every excuse to cancel her. She's going to go anyway, even if she has to stand on a street corner and give her speech. What are your thoughts about Berkeley and what they're trying to do to stifle free speech?
Well, over 10 years ago, I went to the University of Texas to give my program, The Coming Population Crisis in America and What You Can Do About It, and I got yelled right off the podium. I mean, they do not want an opposing view. They don't want a different view. They don't want free speech. The only free speech they want is anything that they agree with. And so they don't like and they don't want First Amendment rights here in this constitutional republic. And the thing is, most people, well, like me, most people will just back down as soon as they get called a name, whether, racist, xenophobe, nativist, and everything else. I just had the Southern Poverty Law Center call me up, one of the journalists there, a guy named Steve, and he wants to ask me a bunch of questions about my relationship with capsweb.org, which is Californians for Population Stabilization. And I just sat there, I said, I'd do an interview with you, but you will just literally turn it and cut me in the throat.
Right.
And literally turn all my words against reality. I says, I'm not going to give you an interview. And so I understand where Ann Coulter's coming from, because I've had the same experience myself. And if we lose First Amendment rights for anyone's ability to speak in favor of whatever it is they're speaking for, then we're losing our country. These snowflakes out there in Berkeley, they don't understand what they're doing to themselves in the future of this country when they take out anybody's opposing view. It's unconstitutional, is what it is.
And what I like about what she's doing, real quickly, and then I want to get into something else, is that she's going to call their bluff. She says, I'm coming anyway. We had a speaking engagement contract for the 27th, which is day after tomorrow. I'm going to be there. You'd better make sure you furnish the security. I think there's going to be a bunch of lawsuits, and there should be.
Oh, totally. For me, when I was down at the University of Texas, they just shouted me right off. I mean, I couldn't say anything. So I'm very much aware of this. And she's got more power than I do, and she's a much more famous person, and good on her. But the basic concept problem here is the loss of First Amendment rights, and that in itself is against everything that America stands for.
Okay, now I want to talk about this trip, because a lot of people are going to be very envious of what you're doing and how you're going to do it. You're going to be leaving on Monday, May 1st, on a motorcycle to Alaska. Take it from there.
Yes, as you all know, at 70, I'm in the twilight of my years, but I'm in the youth of my old age, if you will. And I can still handle a motorcycle, and I've got a Honda Goldwing, and my other buddy's got a BMW, and the other one's got I think it's an ST13, 1300. But three of us are all taken off to Alaska, and the key is to go through all the wonder and the joy and the beauty. We're going to go straight west and hit the West Coast and run the West Coast all the way up into BC, Vancouver, and then Vancouver up to the, I think it's Prince George, and then Prince George we're going to go west to the Cassiar Highway, and then the Cassiar all the way up to the Alaska Highway, and then up to, and on the Dalton Highway in Alaska, we're going to go, and I'm going to bring back a vial of Arctic Ocean water. And that's going to be a great incredible journey, and I'll do lots of stories and lots of postings on that. And then when I come back on the 25th of June, I'm going to take off to Astoria, Oregon, and ride my bicycle, and it's called the Northern Tier. And I'm going to pedal from the Northern Tier, which is right along the Canadian border there, across the top of Michigan into Ontario and to Niagara Falls. And, of course, Sandy's going with me. And then off to Bar Harbor, Maine. And then when I get back on the 15th, I'm going to backpack the Colorado Trail for a week or two. But I'll be back in October. So it's going to be a fantastic summer. I'm just doing everything I can to stuff the bucket list full. And I'm excited about it. And I'm going to take lots of pictures, take a lot of video. And it's going to be an extraordinary summer of adventure. And that's what my life's been all about, is adventure.
Holy cow. I mean, man, you're making a lot of us jealous, but I'll tell you what, I just absolutely, I can't wait to read and follow up on what your experiences and your adventures were. You know, there's a lot of us that are saying, doggone it, I wished I could be like him and just take off and see the world. And really explain, how can you do that?
Well, my new book is out, and it's on Amazon right now, and it's getting some great reviews. It's called Living Your Spectacular Life, and it's got a shot of one of my 70-year-old friends and I on top of a 13,200-foot mountain peak in the middle of January with a beautiful 100-mile view all around for 360 degrees. And in that book, I show anyone at any age, I've got 12 concepts and practices to how to go live a spectacular life. It literally shows you how to do it. And I've got 25 to 30 examples of men and women out there living spectacular lives, and it shows how to transition into them. It shows how to go out there and literally do what you love to do, so that every day you get up, you're excited, you're driven passionately, you have great purpose. And I mean, if we had another half hour, I could give you quite a few examples of all these people. But after each chapter, I give 3 of these incredible individuals that are just average people like you and me. And so they're not lucky. I'm not lucky. I've worked my whole life to do what I do, and I give up all those secrets in those 12 concepts and practices. So literally anybody that wants to live a life of adventure or wants to live a spectacular life doing what they love, that book, Living Your Spectacular Life, the book is as spectacular as the front cover shot. And go to Amazon.com right now, just livingyourspectacularlife.com. Amazon.com, Living Your Spectacular Life by Frosty Wooldridge, and you'll get all the secrets, and then you just plug them in, and all of a sudden you're gonna have the ride of your life.
All I'm going to say is this: Godspeed, my dear friend. The very best to you and your lovely wife, Sandy. And don't worry, there's a spot for you when you get back in October. We're looking forward to having you back on the air. Frosty Wooldridge, thank you, my friend.
Zeb, thank you. I love you and Deanne, and God bless every person listening, and may you have a safe summer, and Godspeed, and just God bless America.
Absolutely.
God bless America for all the work you do, Zeb, and every person you have come on your show. I'm so proud to be a part of what you do and what we are, and America and our communities. And just God bless you and Godspeed, and thank you so much, and I'll be talking to you soon.
All right, my friend, take care. Dear friend Frosty Wooldridge from Golden, Colorado, and I envy him. He's milking the cow of life right down to the last drop. Absolutely. We've got to pay some bills here real quick, and I want to remind you about our dear friends at Hanson Mortuary with Joel Heward and his family and his staff, always serving you and your family. When a passing of a loved one, you don't know what to do, you don't know about what has to be done in a short period of time, take a deep breath and just remember, they can help, and they will help at 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary, serving you always with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. So please, remember the number. They are there to serve you. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, 436-5636. And another reminder about our dear friends, Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. Oh, my goodness, they're all teamed up, offering up to a $1,700 rebate on qualifying new Lennox home comfort systems, and you don't want to pass up on this opportunity. You give Ramsey Heating and Electric a call today at 678-0459. That number again, 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, saving you money. Right now, we're going to get set to go to the phone line in a moment and have our next guest. But prior to that, I want to remind you, too, that, let's see, do I have that note right now? No, I'll take care of that in a few minutes. Let's ride. Oh, my goodness sakes, Nick and the rest of the crew over at 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 4, and this is where the fun is sold. Have you got four-wheelers? Have you had them serviced yet? Well, if not, call them at 436-4771 and make an appointment to get them serviced so you can hit the hills. And if you don't have a four-wheeler or a side-by-side, you'd better get over there, open the front door to that showroom, and just go, holy cow. They've got everything over there at Let's Ride. All the four-wheelers, all the side-by-sides, everything, great accessory department, service department. Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Yes, it's true. This is where the fun is sold. Let's go to the phone line right now and say good morning to a gentleman that I don't believe I've ever had on this program before, but I'm looking forward to our conversation. Good morning to Fred Campbell, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's my pleasure. And Fred, let me tell you right up front, that you have never been interviewed by anybody that has less knowledge about the internet or computers than I have. So I'm just telling you that up front so you won't snicker and tee-hee while I'm on the air.
I won't.
Okay. Fred, you tell us a little bit about yourself. I understand that you're the former Federal Communications Commission Wireless Bureau Chief. What does that mean?
It means I was in charge of wireless policy for, the airwaves and spectrum used for mobile phones and other non-radio, non-broadcast type uses.
Okay. And in your years of serving in that capacity, you have probably seen the good, the bad, and the ugly as to what's going on with the Internet. But now today, the left, the liberals, it's kind of coming out that they believe that they should control what the content is, basically for their own political protection. Would you agree with that?
I would agree absolutely. A couple of years ago, they issued an order where they decided they would price regulate the Internet service providers and force them to carry content and tell them, they can't block any content whether they like it or not. And I think the whole goal for this all along has been for the left to take control of the press and take control of what people can and can't say on the Internet.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me ask you this question. As a parent, now a grandparent, we're all concerned about the garbage that's on the Internet. But this goes high and above anything that might be kind of salacious material or whatever. We're talking about basically controlling people's thoughts, minds, and the way that they read things on the Internet. Give us a broader explanation on that, would you please?
Sure. So traditionally, in this country, the First Amendment, with newspapers or any other form of mass media has limited the amount of control the government could exercise over it. Broadcast is probably the most regulated. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with that.
Mm-hmm.
But, from there all the way down to newspapers, which, the government's pretty much been hands off in what they can do. Well, the problem with the Internet is it is now becoming the primary way to deliver newspaper news. Most broadcasters also have a website and get that information on the Internet. And with over-the-top type video services, Netflix and the like, the video is moving to the internet as well. So what happens when the federal government has complete control over over the wires that are used to deliver this information? I think what happens is it becomes in essence or in effect a state-owned media distribution system for all types of media, and that would be an incredible precedent in this country.
Now, how did they, and again, this is a naivete on my part, Fred, but how did they, being the left, how did they gain so much control over the internet or the possibility that they can or will control the internet in the future? Who gave them the key to the city?
Well, no one really gave it to them. It's unclear at best. So there's a Communications Act, a law that governs the FCC, empowers them to do things, and it says that internet-type services should be unregulated. And I think everyone thought broadband internet access, the service you get from your ISP, your internet service provider, was part of that deregulated area. And what the left decided was, well, no, that part of the internet is just like the old telephone network, which was once a monopoly and was very heavily regulated. And we're going to apply the same 1930s-style regulation that traditionally applied to the old telephone network to the internet. So it was really decided by the FCC, Obama's, chairman that he had appointed to the FCC. He didn't even want to do this way originally, but Obama weighed in and said, impose those 1930s regulations, and he immediately switched course, and that's what they did.
Now, let me ask you this question. Behind any movement or possibility of any control on any situation, it takes that 5-letter word money. Who's writing the check to make sure that they get their way?
Silicon Valley. The companies out there, they call them edge providers at the FCC, but we're talking about, Netflix, Google, and the like. Right now, they basically get access to the internet, to end user consumers who are using the internet. They get that access for free. And there's this concern that if ISPs actually started to charge them or tried to take, part of their advertising revenue stream, they have a concern it'll cut into their bottom line. Right now, they're some of the most profitable companies in the entire world, and they're the largest company in the entire world. So they were able to finance an extraordinarily effective campaign to try to convince, people that without this 1930s-style regulation, the internet would just die, implode, and it's terrible. But none of that is really true.
Let me ask you, give us a kind of a, if you will, doomsday scenario. If the left and people like George Soros get their way and have control over the internet, give us, in your opinion, what would happen? Would it be kind of a Venezuela-type news media release? I mean, everything is subjective to just what the left wants people to believe and adhere to. Tell me your side of it.
I think it'd be a little more subtle than Venezuela, but I think the end result would be real similar. I'll give you just one example. So Google was allowed to buy a company called DoubleClick under the Obama administration, and that company basically serves most of the ads on the internet. And, newspaper sites on the internet, virtually every site with ads is served by Google's subsidiary. And what does that mean? Google already controls the money supply to a whole lot of newspaper sites on the web. That gives them one sort of power. I mean, advertisers always have some power over content. But what we saw with the Obama administration is the CEO of Google, Eric Schmidt, was actually in the Obama campaign room and providing resources for him to win that campaign. And net neutrality is just another part of Google's plan to sort of dominate advertising on the internet, dominate content on the internet, and that's that's kind of a real-world example of what can happen. Before long, you have companies like Google who are very much on the left side of the political spectrum, not only controlling the media, but controlling elections. There was some research done by some professors a couple of years ago that showed that Google, through manipulating its search results, could potentially determine the winner in up to 25% of the elections around the world.
Mm. Now, what about Donald Trump? Let's bring in this new administration. Are you looking forward with more optimism that perhaps Mr. Trump and his administration will get involved and try to reverse the ill effects of what the left's trying to do?
Yes. I mean, I think the FCC, under Trump's new chairman, Ajit Pai, will look at this issue again. He was very critical of this approach to regulating the Internet during the Obama administration, so I would expect him to want to, overturn this approach, and I would also expect the administration and the Republican-controlled Congress to support that. But they're going to face a lot of lobbying influence and a lot of money and a lot of content control by some of those companies I already mentioned. So it'll be a battle.
Fred, let me ask you this. I'm concerned about my industry, the radio, television broadcasting industry, because we have seen many, many attacks on it to the point where they want to stifle and stymie a lot of our voices as far as conservative thought on the radio. Liberal broadcasts have tried and absolutely fallen off a cliff and failed as far as the public accepting their viewpoint. But with the problem with the Internet, that could be another thing that could jump right over the cliff and land on public broadcasting, talk shows, Limbaugh, myself, and others, and all they want to do is control and shut us down. And once you control and shut us down, there's only the left thought that's going to purvey itself. Would you agree with that synopsis?
I do agree with that. And I think under the Obama administration, you saw the FCC take action similar to and complementary to its whole net neutrality push to try to control radio and television broadcasts. And some of those, control measures have already been undone by the new chairman, who's very supportive of radio broadcasts and television broadcasts, and I expect we'll continue to see that. But, the presidency can always switch, so we really need to be, fighting for the long-term result to keep the government's hands off of free speech and off the ability for conservatives and others on the right to express their opinions.
Let me ask you one final thought here, Fred. How? What would you tell my audience as to how they can be the bird dog, how they can be the detective as to what's being done or not being done? Is there a source? Is there a method? I mean, tell my audience how they can be aware as to what's going on.
Well, during the last go-around when the Obama administration was doing its run-up to its rules, the left encouraged the average citizen to send comments to the FCC, and they ended up getting millions of comments saying, do this. And that was used and bandied about in the press as a justification for putting these restrictions on the Internet. We need to do the same thing when the FCC looks at it this time. It's very easy to send an email or file what they call a brief comment at the FCC. You can do it on your computer electronically. We need to tell the FCC to get rid of these net neutrality rules that stifle speech and put the government in charge of what happens on the Internet.
Absolutely. I have had a very enjoyable time visiting with you, Fred, and I hope you'll come back in the future. Fred Campbell, and of course a Director of Technology, a Senior Policy Advisor with Wireless 2020. Thank you for taking the time to come on my program this morning, and I'll have you back in the future. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Very interesting gentleman, Fred Campbell, and we all should be very, very aware and cautious as to what the left is trying to do to take over what we read, what we study, everything on the Internet. And like I said also, they're trying to shut our voices up in broadcasting. We got to get a weather forecast on here right now. Holy moly, yes we do. And the weather is brought to you this hour by some really, really good folks that care about the community, and they care about you and your money situation. That's right. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company, CPAs. They've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. The very best of tax return preparation, tax planning, retirement planning, bookkeeping services, and the list goes on and on. And they've got 2 locations to serve you, Burley and Rupert. So please remember the name and get a hold of them today. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company, CPAs, serving you. Right now, here's the weather.
Expect the wind to stick around throughout the rest of the week, and we're still going to be having some rain showers off and on throughout the rest of the week as well. Looks like partly cloudy skies for today. Winds out of the west right around 23 miles an hour, looking at a high of 57. Tonight, low of 39. Tomorrow, 90% chance of rain showers in the forecast. Winds are going to continue out of the southwest right around 16 miles an hour. Expecting a high of 49, overnight low of 34. Thursday's really going to be windy. Out of the west, right around 30 miles an hour, looking at a high of 47 under partly cloudy skies, overnight low of 32. For Friday, partly cloudy skies, winds calming down, a high of 51, overnight low of 33. Saturday, finally, looking at a relatively decent day, slightly breezy, mostly sunny, high of 57, overnight low of 37. That is your weather for Zebeth Rain.
All right, Gina, thank you very much, and brought to you, everybody, by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company, CPAs, and they can help so many people in so many various ways. People starting a business, a partnership, or a corporation, or business owners wanting to hire employees, and 2 locations to serve you, and they're located at 1710 Overland Avenue in Burley or 625th Street in Rupert. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company. All right, your turn. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for your phone call, I really would appreciate your calls on any subject that we've talked about this morning. I want to remind you that we did a lunch bunch video last week on Thursday. The reason is that it was the tribute to Russell Smith for his birthday that's coming up in May, but we wanted to celebrate it early for our April lunch bunch. And my dear friend John Ellis came over there and shot a video regarding all the lunch bunchers that wished Russell a very happy birthday, and then, of course, the great big cake and all the veterans that were there. And if you'd like to have a DVD of that, please, please, please call me on my cell phone, 312-2976, and we will take your name and have John Ellis make sure that he makes a copy of that video for you. And it's also on the YouTube channel, so a real tribute to Russell Smith and all of our veterans last Thursday at our lunch bunch at Denny's, America's Diner. Once again, my cell phone number, 312-2976, if you'd like to have a copy of that. Okay, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587, and we'll talk about anything that you want to talk about for the remainder of this hour. Give us a jingle. One of the things I didn't get a chance to talk about too much in the first hour this morning is that there have been some people that have said, oh, you have to be so careful about what you say about a past president or a current president. You have to be careful that you don't call them liars. You have to be careful you don't say this, that, or the other. Baloney. There was verified proof yesterday on a video that I have seen that Barack Obama is and has been a liar when it comes to the situation with Iran and the Iranian nuclear deal. It was blatantly apparent that he lied to you and me and everybody in the United States. During the transaction of the Iranian deal, the nuclear deal, when they were dotting the I's and crossing the T's and saying that we're going to give back certain Iranian prisoners to Iran. And Obama had made the comment, and I'm paraphrasing. You can look it up. You can listen to the tape yourself. Oh, well, the people we're giving back are just very nondescript. They're very low people. They're basically nothing more than civilians. Now it is coming out and being proven, not my words, being proven by others that these people that we released were arms dealers in nuclear arm detonators. And Obama let them go. Obama called them basically civilians. Not to worry about them. No big deal. They're never going to cause any trouble. Oh, come on, it's just part of the deal. Obama lied to us. And I mean that in the harshest terminology. Obama lied to all of us. Obama and the collusion, and I mean this, Obama and the collusion with the Iranian Muslims. How many other things do we not know or we have not been told the truth about? I think the number would astound us. And the way the facts have been distorted against us and our country are absolutely abhorrent. But I will stand behind my statement after watching the video of what he had said during the negotiations as compared to what really honestly happened. Barack Obama is a liar. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle. While I'm waiting for your call, I want to remind you, too, about our dear friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Caller, I'll be right there. When you think about life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, and employee benefits, all of this and more from some very dedicated and responsive professionals, Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Highway 24 in Rupert, the number to call, 436-4424. You give them a call for an appointment today. Caller, good morning.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes.
I can't hear you very well, but I'm sure you can hear me. Yes, if his lips were moving, he was lying. But the reason I called is talking about building this wall with the cost, and what about all the technology and the surveillance and detection type of technology we have today, and around Area 51 and White Sands? If a mouse crosses underground, overground, in the air, whatever, they know it. Wouldn't it be more economical to do it that way?
Well, and by the way, who's to say, and I hope you can hear me when I'm saying this, but who's to say what kind of a wall or what kind of technology is or will be used on this wall? I don't think it's been definitive. There's no guidelines. There's nothing out that says this is absolutely the way we're going to build the wall. I honestly feel that in many, many cases across Texas and Arizona and other parts of where the wall would be built, I would much rather have some of our National Guard or our military troops there with some of the high electronic technician weapons and also structures that could detect when people are coming across the border, more so than just a wall so that these people could be apprehended and a show of force could be dictated to the rest of the world. I'm not in favor of just having a wall per se in all aspects of the southern border.
No, I totally agree with you, and that's the reason I was talking about this, is because more than once I have heard of a wall, technically like a concrete wall or something, and that term used, and with it designating that type of thing, and that's why I was just wondering if there was a determination what the wall, quote unquote, would actually be. And I agree with the personnel.
You know, and
they've already beefed that some anyway, haven't they? Hopefully.
You know, and I think that maybe this sounds a little harsh, but answer this. I wouldn't mind at all if in certain parts of that they had a fence that was wired up to 220 and said, no, you're not crossing across here. I mean, we have got to tighten our border. We do not know who's coming across. We do not know for what purpose. We do not know for what villainous type activity they want to perform in this country, and I think the tougher the better.
Well, if they have electrified fences that keep in goats and hogs, I know that they can keep the others out.
Okay.
Thank you.
God bless. Have a good day. Thank you very much. Nice lady right there. Hey, I've got to pay some bills. I want to tell you quickly, and these folks are really, really good people at Kelly's Bearing Supply. 1407 East Main in Burley. You know what? I love their tagline. You'll know where you're at when you get your bearings at Kelly's. That's right. Don't let your machine sit idle while you're waiting for a part to come in. Kelly's Bearing Supply keeps everything on hand. They've got all the bearings, the chains, the brackets, and everything. Stop in and see Zach and Brett and Alex at Kelly's Bearing Supply, 1407 East Main in Burley. Number to call, 678-9398. Well, I'm having more trouble with my headsets this morning with a kind of a blurry sound coming from the station. I don't know if they can do something to that or not. It's really booming in, but not real clear. Caller, quickly, I've got exactly 1 minute left. Go ahead.
Okay. The thought I had about, building the wall, it doesn't seem like it's going to matter how high it is because of our age of the drones and everything. What's to prevent these drug dealers from taking a batch of drugs and everything and just flying over, just past the wall and then darting back? And then they just come in and gather them up and go on their way. How are we going to combat all that stuff?
Shoot them down.
Well, you would if you knew they were there.
No, I tell you what. Wait a minute. Whoa, Keith. Keith, wait a minute. Any drone that's coming out of the south, and there's ways to tell whether they're there at night or in the total daylight, any drone that comes out of the south that has not been authorized by any way, shape, or form or government official, shoot the damn thing down.
Well, I agree with you 100%, but it's just a thought that crossed my mind that it doesn't matter how high the wall is.
Yeah.
We're still going to have some intruders.
Yeah, but the numbers are going to be minimized, and we have to do it.
Sacrifice their life.
I agree. I'm just, anybody that wants to come here illegally, they're running the risk of not only arrest, but they're also the danger risk to their life, and that's their problem, not ours. I got to run to the news, Keith, but thank you so much for your thoughts.
You bet. Bye-bye.
All right, sir. God bless. News next from CBS, and then we'll have Dr. History on a Tuesday. Good morning, everybody. We'll be back in about 7 minutes. Oh, my. Here we go. Thank you very much. Hour number 3 on a Tuesday. And, of course, being Tuesday at 10:06, that means that in just a moment we're going to have Dr. History, so stand by. First of all, I want to remind you that our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with the best of a big spring tire sale. And, of course, all 7 locations ready to welcome you in the door right now. And some of our great advertisers, like Western Way Services, always at your disposal, 734-6969. Last hour I mentioned this, and I want to mention it again, that Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center at 924 Christian Way in Rupert, their only locally owned and operated assisted living facility in the Minnecasia area. And they invite you to come by and visit their facility and take a tour, check them out. And they have a beautiful patio area in the backyard, and they take the residents to various community events. They make every effort to make Autumn Haven the best placed. They're small compared to some, but with a bigger heart than most. Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center, 924 Christian Way in Rupert. That number to call, 436-3200. It is time for Minnecasia Sales to bring you Dr. History, and they're located at 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. Number to call, 878-2091. Zach and the crew at Minnecasia Sales. And right now, without further ado, waiting patiently stage left. Good morning, Dr. History.
Good morning, Zeb. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. About got blown in here.
Ooh,
windy out there today.
It's going to get worse.
Yeah.
It's going to get worse.
But sun's shining anyway.
Yep.
So
what are we going to talk? Now, we have really made a concentrated effort the last couple of weeks to talk about trail drives and the hazards of the trail drives, etc. What are we going to talk about this morning?
We're going to talk about two characters, actually, that contributed to the cattle drives.
Okay.
Participated in that.
All right.
So, about 1 out of every 3 cowboys was of African American or Mexican descent.
That's right.
So now that's a fact that's seldom reflected in, the Western novels, films, television series. You don't see that. But the guy we're going to talk about is Nate Love.
Mm-hmm.
He was born a slave in Tennessee in 1854, but after the Civil War, his imagination was fired by the colorfully dressed, free-spirited cowboys of the West. Now, his father was a slave foreman on the plantation's fields, and his mother was the manager of its kitchen. Now, Love had 2 siblings. He had an older sister named Sally and an older brother named Jordan. Now, despite the slavery-era statutes that outlawed black literacy, they didn't allow them to learn to learn how to read.
Yep.
He learned to read and write as a child with the help of his father. Mm-hmm. His father's name was Samson.
Right.
So when slavery ended, Love's parents stayed on the Love plantation as sharecroppers. Back then they kept the name of the owner of the plantation.
A lot of people don't remember that, but the real last name on most families was never known.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So they kept the name of the plantation owner. But anyway, his dad attempted to raise tobacco and corn on about 20 acres, but his dad, Samson, died shortly after the second crop was planted. So afterward, Nate took a second job working on a local farm to help make ends meet. Now, he's about 14 or 15 right now.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Now, at about this time, he was noted as having a gift for breaking horses. After some time of working extra odd jobs in the area, he won a horse in a raffle. And he then sold back the horse to the owner for $50. He used the money to leave town, and at the age of about 15 or 16, he headed west.
Mm-hmm.
So this is Nate Love. So about 1869, like I say, he left the South to become a cowboy. He made his way on foot to Dodge City, where he was attracted to a Texas outfit with several other black cowboys. He was offered a job if he could ride a rank horse named Good Eye.
Mm-hmm.
So, it seems like every ranch had a horse that nobody could ride,
yeah,
right?
And, it's funny, that's depicted in a lot of the movies and everything. Remember the movie Monty Walsh?
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, that was an excellent cowboy movie. You ought to really take time and watch that. But there was a bay horse in there that was really the center of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
That could not be ridden.
Yeah. So,
right.
Anyway, so they said, if you can ride this horse named Good Eye, you might have a job.
Okay.
Well, as I mentioned, Love had broken colts for a neighbor at 10 cents apiece.
10 cents?
10 cents apiece. They'd have to give me a lot more than that.
Ooh, baby.
But anyway, he was able to stay on board the horse, so he began his career as a cowboy. So booted and spurred, sporting a bright bandana and a broad-brimmed white hat.
Mm-hmm.
Can you picture that? I've got a picture.
Yeah.
I'll show you here in a minute.
Yep.
He worked as a cowhand driving Texas Longhorns to Kansas for several years.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, after the Civil War, more than 8,000 black cowboys, including Nate Love, made their way west and worked the cattle drives. And again, you don't see that in movies, really. But in 1876, Nate Love helped trail a herd from Arizona to the Dakota gold mining boomtown of Deadwood.
Right.
And while he was there, he entered the Centennial Independence Day celebrations. And he related that he won a roping competition, a shooting contest, and right there he said, the assembled crowd named me Deadwood Dick and proclaimed me champion of the Western cattle country.
Right.
You've heard of Deadwood Dick?
Many, many times.
Okay.
Yep.
Anyway, so Love thereby laid claim to having been the inspiration for the famous dime novel character,
Yep.
Deadwood Dick.
Yep.
Now, there's some controversy on that, though. But the immensely popular dime novel was the creation of a guy named Erastus Beadle out of New York, and the development of steam-powered high-speed printing made it possible to reach the mass audiences with pretty inexpensive literature.
Didn't the man that wrote the dime novels on Deadwood Dick, didn't he also, the author, write the dime novels on Wild Bill Hickok?
Custer, Hickok, Carson, Buffalo Bill. A lot of times the same guy did a lot of that.
Yeah.
And or he had writers that did it for him.
Right.
So this might be a good place for a break if you want.
I think it would be. Don't look outside just now, but we hope nicer weather is coming. And that's why we want you to stop over to Mini-Cash Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, and see Zach and the crew. Don't forget, they've got all the metal and shingle roofing. They've got windows of all sizes, the western windows. They've got the interior and exterior doors. They've got all your flooring and your vinyl siding. Hey, stop over and see Zach today. You'll be glad you stopped by. They've got so much to serve you, and they can also help send over contractors to do the installation, and they will do an excellent job. All of this at Mini-Cash Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. Call Zach and the crew, 878-2091, Mini-Cash Sales. And right now, there's more with Dr. History.
Okay, so we're talking about Nate Love. Now, and the character of Deadwood Dick, which he received, was instrumental in establishing the kind of the heroic outlaw as kind of a staple of a lot of movies and novels and television series. But actually, there were 33 Deadwood Dick dime novels, as well as 97 Deadwood Dick Jr. sagas. So, but, in October 1877, Nate Love writes that he was captured by a band of Pima Indians. Okay, while he was rounding up stray cattle near the Gila River in Arizona. And he claimed to have received over 14 bullet wounds in his career, with several received in his fight with the Indians while trying to avoid capture.
14?
14. But Love wrote that his life was spared because the Indians respected his heritage.
Well, if they respected him so much, how come they kept shooting at him all the time?
I guess they just wanted to nick him a little bit.
A little bit, okay, yeah.
But they respected his heritage because, a large portion of the band of Indians themselves were of mixed blood.
Yeah.
So, but this band of Native American Indians nursed him back to health, actually, wishing to adopt him into the tribe. And eventually, Love writes, he says, he stole a pony and escaped into West Texas.
Mm-hmm.
But he has a statement here. He says, mounted on my horse, my lariat near my hand, and my trusty guns in my belt, I felt like I could defy the world.
Really?
Yeah, I'll show you a picture here in a minute.
Okay, good.
But, by this time in the real West, the trail drives were kind of ending. The nature of ranching was changing, and large numbers of black cowboys were trying to find more stable work because it only worked during the summer months. So during the era of open range ranching, most cowboys were employed only seasonally. So during roundups and trail drives, by the 1880s, the cowboys like Nate Love's generation no longer were young, footloose teenagers in search of adventure and excitement, and many men decided it was time to settle down and raise a family.
Right.
So this is what Nate Love did. He said he gave up cowboying in 1890 and became a Pullman porter on the train.
Okay,
remember
yeah.
that? And this was a reliable job and generally available to African Americans of that period. And in 1907, he published the only book-length autobiographical. Let me say that again.
Autobiographical.
Forget the word. What you just said. Account of a black cowboy, and is titled "The Life and Adventures of Nate Love, better known in the cattle country as Deadwood Dick."
Right.
So, in addition to his claims about being the prototype for the famous fictional shooter, Love stated that he was a friend of Bat Masterson, and that he had met Billy the Kid in 1877 and had various experiences with the Kid and Pat Garrett during the Lincoln County War.
Really?
So
now, was he there?
Well, it doesn't say he was there, but somehow he was acquainted with those guys, so he must have been near that area, I'm guessing.
Well, Garrett and Billy the Kid never, according to what I've done a study, they never really left the greater surroundings of New Mexico.
And, maybe that's where he ran into him. Don't know. But anyway, Nate Love fearlessly endured 2 decades of what he calls harrowing escapades. In fact, he says, I gloried in the danger. He related a series of sensational adventures from the skirmishes with the Indians, which I just mentioned about being captured. And then he says, I carried the marks of 14 bullet wounds on different parts of my body, any of which...
14 bullet wounds covers most of your body.
It does. And he says, any of which would be sufficient to kill an ordinary man.
Yeah.
But he says, I am not crippled. His books read somewhat like a Deadwood Dick novel.
Oh, my goodness.
Anyway.
And we don't know how verifiably true that is.
No, because, if any story's worth retelling, you got to add a little to it.
Oh.
Right?
Is that what you're doing?
No.
Okay.
This is fact.
I see.
But, Love either had a bad memory or a very good imagination. We're not quite sure. But, Nate's love was not the inspiration behind the fictional Deadwood Dick. He spent most of his life as a cowboy, but he was an adventurous man who went west to become a cowboy during the heyday of that captivating profession, and he was an African American who spearheaded the movement of his race into the West, and embellishing the deeds of this life with a little good-natured exaggeration.
Let me ask you, though, he went on to be a porter, you said,
yes,
on the rail system.
Uh-huh.
And at what age?
It was about 20 years after he was born, so I'm going to say he was only about 35.
Really?
Or so by then.
And he married and had a family.
Yeah.
Now, what town did he live in or reside in after he got married?
I'm not.
I was just curious because I thought I read.
I think Denver, actually.
I thought that's what it was.
Yeah.
And I heard a rumor that, in one of my books on the shelf, as a matter of fact, they said that a lot of his descendants are still living in the greater Denver area.
Okay. Actually, I do have a note here that he married his wife, Alice, in 1889.
Yeah.
Settled down initially in Denver, taking the job as a Pullman porter.
Right.
And then while working for the railroad, he and his family actually lived in several western states before finally moving to Southern California.
Oh, he went to Southern California.
Yeah. Now, I do have something out of his book that I'm going to read to you.
Okay.
I think we've got enough
By
time.
the way, let me see his picture quick. I want to see that.
Okay.
He was kind of a flamboyant guy, wasn't he?
Yeah, look at that.
And really, today, he would look a lot like... various pro football players with a little bit longer hair, honestly.
Yeah.
He's a pretty well-built, strong-looking guy.
He does. He just looks tough.
Yeah.
So.
And go ahead.
Okay, so I'm just going to read a little about from his autobiography.
Okay.
I got that one out. Okay. In the spring of 1876, orders were received at the home ranch for 3,000 head of 3-year-old steers to be delivered near Deadwood, South Dakota. This being one of the largest orders we had ever received at any one time. Every man around the ranch was placed on his mettle to execute the order in record time. Our route lay through New Mexico, Colorado, and Wyoming, and as we heard rumors that the Indians were on the warpath and were picking up something of a rumpus in Wyoming, Indian Territory, and Kansas, we expected trouble before we again had the pleasure of sitting around our fire at the home ranch.
What year was that, by the way?
1876.
So that was the same year that the Indians hit Custer.
Yes. In fact, it's mentioned in here
a
little bit. He says quite a large party was selected for this trip, owing to the size of the herd and the possibility of trouble on the trail from the Indians. We, as usual, were all well armed and had as mounts the best horses our ranch produced. And in taking the trail, we were perfectly confident that we could take care of our herd and ourselves through anything we were liable to meet. We had not been on the trail long before we met other outfits who told us, as you just mentioned, that General Custer was out after the Indians and that a big fight was expected when the 7th U.S. Cavalry, General Custer's command, met the Indians.
And let me ask you right there, Doc, pardon me interruption, but didn't you do a story one time a couple of years ago about a cattle drive that was going on at the same time, and maybe this is it, as the Custer Massacre?
There was, and I would have to look back in my stories to see which one. But yes, there was.
Okay.
But anyway, he says we arrived in Deadwood in good condition without having had any trouble with the Indians on the way up. We turned our cattle over to their new owners at once, then proceeded to take in the town. So that's the story of Deadwood Dick, or Nate Love. Do we have enough time?
We've got about 6 minutes left, and I really would like you to hit Bill Pickett a little bit.
Let me go through Bill Pickett.
Okay.
One of the most famous of all black cowboys was Bill Pickett, born in Texas in 1860. Pickett is said to have been hired at age 13 at the famous 101 Ranch in Oklahoma. Have you heard of that ranch?
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Okay. So when he was about 20 years old, he created the sport of bulldogging, in which a rider leaps from his horse and wrestles a full-grown steer to the ground. As he perfected his bulldogging technique over the years, Pickett found that he could get a struggling steer to submit more quickly if he bit its upper lip.
Yeah.
Now, in the early 1900s, when the 101 Wild West show was organized, Pickett accompanied such well-known cowboy stars as Will Rogers, Tom Mix on the wide-ranging show circuit. He performed in Madison Square Garden. He actually went to Europe and later returning to Oklahoma. And actually in 1971, Pickett became the first African-American ever inducted into the National Cowboy Hall of Fame in Oklahoma City.
And Bill Pickett was quite a bit like Nate Love as far as the flamboyant attitude and everything. They kind of looked alike in some respects.
Yeah. And, you know, back then, you know, the segregation thing was somewhat in effect, but when you got out west, in fact, it says that cowboys judged each other by how well they could ride, shoot, tend cattle, and stand on their own. Family breeding, nationality, and race didn't make any difference. I mean, if you could do the job, and there were a lot of African-American black cowboys.
And this is what's really surprising. You bring this up, and it's so true, and I've read it in history books and all through my life of studying the American West. But in movies and TV series, I can only think, and tell me if I'm wrong, of one instance of a black actor playing a part of a cattle drive cowboy, and that was Danny Glover in the series Lonesome Dove.
Yeah, I think you're right. You know, in my book here, it says that they also took on positions of authority, and actually such as a ranch foreman, a trail boss, a ramrod, and for that time, that was pretty liberal because that didn't happen in the South.
No, and think of like the movies back in John Wayne's era when he made that famous movie called Red River.
Yeah.
Remember that movie about a Texas cattle drive? There wasn't one single black actor playing a cowboy.
Yeah. But again, it was how well you did your job.
Yeah.
And these guys were great at doing what they did. And so two of the best cowboys that ever lived right there, Nate Love and Bill Pickett.
And again, whatever happened to Nate Love? Did he die in California?
You know, it just says that he last moved to Southern California. He died in 1921 at the age of 67.
67.
Actually, it says he spent the latter part of his life as a courier and guard for a Los Angeles securities company.
Really?
Yep. So I'm guessing he's got to be buried. Well, I don't know.
And what about Bill Pickett?
I don't know. I don't know about him.
Did he die the cowboy lifestyle, or did he too also move to a more urban setting?
You know, I don't have that much on him right now, so I don't know what happened after he went to Europe and performed and one thing and another. So, but I need to find that out.
One of the things we need to talk about, and I saw a very interesting report on this the other night. I was watching, I think it was the History Channel, but I'm not sure. And it was the evolution of firearms in the Old West, from the cap and ball up to the bullets, where they actually used the bullets and everything. And you ought to do a report on that because a lot of people think, and the movies are atrocious at distorting the facts, where they'd slide the bullets in, reload. They didn't have them until latter part of the Old West. I mean, a lot of it was still the cap and ball and the powder type thing.
I've actually been emailing back and forth a guy named Sam that knows a lot about Wyatt Earp and the Buntline Special.
Yes.
And anyway, he's got some very interesting information about the Buntline Special and Wyatt Earp.
Why don't you put a program together on that? And the little derringers that all the gamblers had.
Yeah, they all.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they said that the gamblers were the best shots in the West.
Well, that's because they're only about 4 feet away from their partner.
That's true.
Or not their partner.
You're about 4 feet from me. Be careful.
No, I'd probably still miss.
Oh, okay. Now, that was a good story. What are we going to talk about next week? I'm sure you've already got it planned out.
I've got it all planned out so well that I don't even remember what it was.
I see. No, I love these series, and we're getting a lot of calls and letters and emails. They love your segment.
Well, I get some comments on my webpage from people, and I appreciate getting their comments.
Oh, boy, a lot of things have changed. And really, when you think about it, here we are in the year 2017, and in some respects, we haven't changed a lot since back in 1877, 78, right in that area.
You know, I love traveling in areas where I think has never been disturbed.
Yeah.
You know, up through Montana or over along parts of the Oregon Trail going to Portland. There's areas there that I picture the Wilson Price Hunt crew going through there, and some of the other Oregon trails, the Whitmans. And,
yeah.
And it has to be almost exactly like it was when they went through.
When you sit there on those old trails, did you ever envision that basically you're like with them at that time?
Kind of. I'm thinking, you know, what would it be like to walk? Which a lot of them walk.
That's right.
You know,
that's right.
Probably more walk than road.
I got to run, but I need to talk to you before you leave. Ladies and gentlemen, a big hand out in the audience. The Dr. History, brought to you by Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport with old Zach and the whole crew. For all your doors, interior doors, exterior doors, your vinyl siding, your luxury vinyl planking. Oh, my goodness, check it out at Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main in Burley. And real quick, before we send it back over to our main studios, I want to remind you on Thursdays we have Cassia County Schools segment, and it's brought to you by two wonderful sponsors. A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. Don't forget, some baby cribs are 50% off, and spring outfits, many are 20% off. And don't forget to check out all the Cherokee scrubs and the shoes at A Child's World in Burley. Along with Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland Avenue, Suite E in Burley, the best place in southern Idaho for your outpatient surgeries, and they can save you money. Call them today at 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center, along with the Child's World, on Thursdays, bringing you school days in Cassia County. Right now, we're going to send it back over to our main studios. I'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, thank you, and welcome back to our last little half hour on Zeb at the Ranch for this morning. And before we get our guest on the air, I want to remind you, too, about Ag Express is looking for drivers. Ag Express is looking for you. That's right. They need to fill some full and part-time positions, and retired folks are welcome to put in their application. They'll work around your schedule 2 or 3 days a week, and let me tell you, you're home every night using new and maintained equipment, vacation packages, benefit programs, all of this and more. So please give them a call today. Ag Express. Call Dale and Paul at 438-8886, Alan in Twin Falls 731-2495, and Russ in Burley at 431-7175. Ag Express is looking for drivers. Ag Express is looking for you. Also, real quick, I want to remind you about Lennox Home Comfort Systems with Ramsey Heating and Electric in Burley. And they're offering together up to a $1,700 rebate on qualifying new Lennox Home Comfort Systems that can keep your home feeling just perfect inside, no matter what the weather outside. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. A good friend of this program back here again for this last half hour, and he wrote an excellent piece on the maybe leadership of France after the next elections, and that's John Zamirak. John, good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm good, Zeb. Thank you. How are you doing?
I am excellent. You know, I am very impressed with your writings and very impressed with your different subject matter. And we've heard a lot about what's going on in France. We've heard a lot about how the elitists want to maintain power, and the general public says, no, we've had enough of you, and we've decided to go with different directions and different people. Give us kind of a thumbnail sketch of this article, France's Final Choice.
Okay, if you want to understand what happened in France, it's a lot like what happened in America when Hillary Clinton beat Bernie Sanders on the left and Donald Trump beat the likes of Marco Rubio on the right. You instead of a hardcore socialist, you've got a kind of squishy left-wing Democrat on the one hand, and that's Macron, the party of the elites, the party of the French establishment, and then opposing him, you have France's answer to Donald Trump, a populist nationalist who is worried about the state of the country and the dangers posed to national integrity, to the safety of citizens, and to the country's values by immigration. But what you need to understand is that the immigration problem in France is about 10 times worse than it is in the United States. Imagine if all of America were like Brownsville, Texas. If all of America were a border city where drug cartels, threaten to take over the town. But instead of drug cartels, they have something much, much worse. Radical Islam. Politicized Islam that has been pushed in a radical direction intentionally by Saudi Arabia, which has been pouring millions of dollars into seeding Western countries with the most radical, puritanical, anti-woman, anti-gay, anti-Christian Muslim leaders. They send them out to evangelize Western Europe and to make sure that the Muslims who are there and the new Muslims they try to bring in understand that Islam is political. Islam is connected to politics. Now, not every ordinary Muslim knows this or thinks about it, but in fact, the potential is there in Islam for radical politics of a kind of installing something like ISIS or like exists in Saudi Arabia. ISIS are not apostate Muslims. They are more like fundamentalist Muslims. And the potential for fundamentalism is there in every version of Islam. We're lucky, we're blessed when ordinary people from Muslim countries don't get into all that. But if they open their Quran, if they open the Hadiths, if they open up a book of Sharia, Islamic law, they're one step away from being turned into radicals because that's what their own religion actually says. And there are a lot of peace-loving Muslims who don't look into that, don't take it seriously. But think of them as like dry straw, and all it needs is a match.
John, when you talk about Europe and you talk about Germany and you talk about France, like in this story, go a little bit more in depth as to what a sweeping, consuming problem it is right now for the French and the Germans and other countries with the influx of Muslims just literally coming in and taking over.
Yeah, there are large sections of French cities where women won't go unless they're wearing a veil. Think about that. Imagine if, I guess there are probably neighborhoods in Dearborn, Michigan, where it's not a good idea. But imagine if large parts of Washington, D.C. were no-go zones where the police were afraid to go because Muslim gangs control them. That's the situation in France. Imagine if hundreds of people every year are killed by radical Muslims, and large portions of the welfare rolls were taken up by Muslim immigrants who don't work, who receive welfare checks, and have 6, 7, 8 children, all of whom they are training to take over the country and turn it into an Islamic dictatorship. That's what's going on in France. And in the article I wrote at stream.org, I say that France hasn't seen anything like this since 1940, when the Germans occupied the country. And just like in 1940, the elites, the establishment, want to work with the invaders. They want to work with the occupiers to make their own lives easy. They don't want to risk their political futures. They don't want to risk their reputation by pointing out just how dangerous, how un-French, how anti-democratic, and anti-Christian most of the Muslim immigrants really are, or are being influenced to be by their preachers who are sent by Saudi Arabia. Remember, Saudi Arabia is a country where women can't drive a car, where a woman who is raped, if she can't find 4 male witnesses to testify that she didn't consent, she'll be whipped for committing adultery, where homosexuals are executed. That is the brand of Islam that is being preached all across Europe. That is what the French are facing. So I think that Marine Le Pen, the leader of the French National Front, she's not perfect. She has flaws. Her party has flaws. But the alternative is totalitarianism. It is Sharia. It is the end of France and the end of Europe. And remember this, France has one of the largest nuclear arsenals on earth. If France turns into a radical Muslim state, which it will in 30 or 40 years if nothing radical gets done soon, then what's going to happen to NATO? What's going to happen to Western Europe? Are we going to have a new Cold War between a nuclear-armed radical Muslim government in Europe versus the United States and maybe Great Britain? This has huge implications for the United States.
Now, let me ask you this, John. As of last night, her opponent was ahead, I think, by 2 percentage points over Le Pen. And I heard some of the pundits saying, oh, well, we can't have Le Pen because she's got close ties with Putin in Russia, etc. What are your thoughts about the two that are up for the voting electorate as compared to what the elites really want to go into office over in France?
Yeah, I mean, it's just insane to worry about Vladimir Putin. I mean, does Vladimir Putin taken over large segments of French cities? Are thousands of radical supporters of Vladimir Putin living in every French city? Are there hundreds of people killed every year by the Russian secret police? No. Vladimir Putin is Abraham Lincoln compared to the Muslims in France. This is just stupid propaganda, hoping that people who still don't remember that communism is gone will think the Russians are the threat. That's right, the Russians are the threat. The Russians are a threat to France the same way the Confederacy is a threat to the United States government today.
John, really, now, what do you think about the power of the European nations as far as when you look at Germany and you look at France and you look at the rest of Europe and the infiltration of the Muslims, the influence of perhaps Sharia law, how bad on a 1 to 10 scale is it today so that my audience can understand really how serious this is?
Today, it's at 3. But it doubles every 5 years. So in 5 years, it's going to be at 6. And in 15 years, it's going to be at 9. Because they keep accepting more Muslim immigrants. They have a higher birth rate. They're much more dedicated and focused and fanatical about their goals. Whereas the average Frenchman just wants to smoke a cigarette, drink some wine, have 1 or 2 kids, and everything's going to be fine. Well, you know what? It's not going to be fine. The whole house of cards is going to come crumbling down within our lifetime.
Now,
within the next 30 or 40 years,
right,
there will be European countries that are controlled by Muslim governments that are persecuting Christianity the way it's happening in Syria and Iraq today.
All right.
Unless something radical is done. There's going to be a European civil war, I fear. I think it's inevitable. I hope it happens sooner rather than later so that we have a chance of winning it. It's that bad.
I agree with...
Look at what happened in Yugoslavia. Look at what happened in Syria. Look at what happened in Lebanon. Muslims in large minorities or approaching majorities are not tolerant of other religions. So you're going to see France maybe divided the way the West Bank is divided. It's just they're inviting so many new, horrible, intractable problems just because they're too lazy or cowardly to face the truth when there's still time to fix things.
John, here's what I want you to do at this juncture is draw the correlation of Germany, France, Europe in general with the Muslim infiltration, and then draw the correlation as to what's happening right here in the United States with the extreme naivete of our political leaders.
In both cases, there's an ideology at work. You know, the way communism destroyed the economy wherever it was imposed, and it's destroying the economy of Venezuela today. You look at North Korea, Cuba, Venezuela. That's what socialism and communism do when they're put into action. And yet, for 60 or 70 years, you had intellectuals denying this, refusing to face facts, sometimes covering up, like covered up the famines in Ukraine that Stalin imposed, just lying because they were so dedicated to this ideology. Well, the new ideology, the new fantasy, is multiculturalism, which says that every religion, every ethnic group, every culture is interchangeable. They can all work together like interchangeable auto parts, and if you don't agree to that, you are a bigot. And furthermore, if you point out flaws in non-Western culture, you point out even the things that are incompatible with our Constitution, like the idea of Sharia law, you are the bigot. We should only be critical of Western institutions, especially Christianity, and we should not be critical of Islam or Hinduism or Buddhism or any other non-Western system is beyond criticism. Any cultural practice like female genital mutilation, honor killing, we're not supposed to talk about those. We're supposed to worry about transgender bathroom access. Okay, so just the way people were willing to impose misery, poverty, famine, and dictatorship on hundreds of millions of people in the name of socialism and communism, today communism is dead mostly. What they have instead is multiculturalism. It also comes from Karl Marx. It's also atheistic. It's also a replacement religion for Christianity. And it's every bit as destructive as communism ever was.
Let me ask you this question, John. One of my biggest concerns is based upon our education facilities, whether it's elementary, high school, colleges, universities across the country. I think they've been duped and brainwashed into being the acceptable factor for Muslims and Islam in general to come in, and they've given them a free pass over and above Christians, Jews, etc. How are we going to change this if it's at all possible?
Well, if we can't change it under a Trump administration, it's never going to get fixed. So the people who put Trump in office, we have to keep holding his feet to the fire and not let the establishment Republicans or some members of his inner circle convince him to backpedal on the immigration issue. Right now, it looks like the Democrats are threatening to shut down the government unless Trump gives up on the border wall. Yeah. And there are rumors that he's going to give up on it and say, oh, well, we'll have a fleet of drones or some garbage like that. His supporters need to rebel if he does that. He needs to know that if he doesn't build a wall on the southern border of the U.S., if he doesn't restrict the influx of Muslim immigrants and favor Christian refugees instead, he will be a one-term president.
When you say that, and we sit here and visit about that issue, I know that myself personally, I've been called a bigot and a hate monger for my thoughts about Islam and the acceptance of, in our own government, the Muslim Brotherhood. Even our politicians, they seem so naive, and I just want to scream at these people. My goodness, can't they see the forest because one tree is in the way? How do we educate these people?
You know what? If they're not calling you a bigot, you're doing something wrong. Because that's what they call anyone who tells the truth. Just the way that socialists, anyone who criticized socialism, they would say you were a fascist, you were a neo-Nazi. Even if what you wanted was libertarian. This is just their standard term of abuse, and what you need to do is turn it around on them. Point out how bigoted, point out how hateful Sharia law is, and ask them why they want to impose that on Americans. Why they want to import people who believe in that. Would they import millions of neo-Nazis? Would they import millions of white racists from South Africa? No. Then why do they want to import millions of Sharia supremacists from the Muslim world? And you just have to keep saying that, keep pointing to the abuses, keep pointing to what's happening in Syria, what's happening in Egypt, what's happening in Lebanon, and now in France, in Belgium, in the Netherlands. Just keep at it and just laugh at them, laugh at their accusations. They are the enablers of bigotry tyranny and hatred.
You know, John, real quick, one final thought on that. You mentioned Sharia law, and we've talked about it in the past. I do not think that, I'll say this, I think 90% of politicians and people that supposedly are the elites, they have no clue what they're advocating when they kind of turn a deaf ear and a blind eye to Sharia law. Do they really understand how serious this is?
No, they want to believe that it's like Catholic canon law or Jewish law. It's not. Sharia law is a totalitarian political ideology that was invented hundreds of years after Islam was founded. It was created as a tool for conquering the Mediterranean and for governing the conquered peoples of these once Christian nations. Sharia law is a political ideology that most Muslims are committed to, but it is not a religious. It's not a religion. It's not protected by the First Amendment. It is the equivalent of, some of those radical fundamentalist Christians, very small numbers of them, who say they want to impose the Bible by force on all of America. We laugh at those people. They live in trailer parks and isolated compounds. Imagine there were millions of them. Up in the Northwest, there used to be this group, the Aryan Nations, that claimed that Christianity demanded white supremacism. That's Sharia law. It's just as bad. It's just as destructive. But it's much bigger. It's much, much more dangerous.
I tell you what, folks, an excellent piece that this man has written for The Stream, France's Final Choice, written by John Zmirak. John, God bless you. Thank you again for coming on our program. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, sir. Very, very interesting gentleman, very well-read and well-versed, and I appreciate him being on our show this morning, John Zmirak. Thank you very much. Oh, my goodness, we got a lot to worry about. We've got a lot to change in this world if we can. Oh, and I've got something I've got to do right now, and that's get a weather forecast on here. My goodness sakes. And the weather is brought to you this hour by Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Hello, Don Scarrow. I got to get that man over here on the program. And Don Scarrow and his whole crew at 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time. Listen to this. They've got a new kind of bacon. A new bacon called buckboard bacon. It's leaner and more economical than traditional bacon, and lots of different flavors too, like lemon pepper and smokehouse barbecue and ranch. Oh, you're gonna love it. I know I am. And breakfast sausages, the bratwurst and everything. Oh, you're just gonna love Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Expect the wind to stick around throughout the rest of the week, and we're still going to be having some rain showers off and on throughout the rest of the week as well. Looks like partly cloudy skies for today. Winds out of the west right around 23 miles an hour, looking at a high of 57. Tonight, low of 39. Tomorrow, 90% chance of rain showers in the forecast. Winds are going to continue out of the southwest right around 16 miles an hour. Expecting a high of 49, overnight low of 34. Thursday, it's really going to be windy. Out of the west, right around 30 miles an hour, looking at a high of 47 under partly cloudy skies. Overnight low of 32. For Friday, partly cloudy skies, winds calming down, a high of 51, overnight low of 33. Saturday, finally, looking at a relatively decent day, slightly breezy, mostly sunny, high of 57, overnight low of 37. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, thank you, Gina. We appreciate that. And she always does a good job of explaining our weather forecast. And brought to you this hour by Scarro's Meats. Delicious meats. They are changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time. Now, you can get a hold of them either by the telephone, 324-7657, or their website, scarrowmeats.com, or driving over to 331 North Road, Jerome. Remember, the very best serving you, Scarro's Meats. You be sure and get a hold of them today. Let's see, what else have we got? I got to give you a little rundown on the program for tomorrow. We've got quite a few different personalities coming on the show tomorrow morning. Dave Vigo is going to be here tomorrow at 9:06 from Indianapolis, Indiana. We've got the Pacific Legal Foundation coming on and another one of their court cases. And then we're going to be talking to a young lady by the name of Dakota, and she is with the Burley FFA, and she's going to be talking about their greenhouse and how they're growing all the different plants and everything. And then with the Idaho Freedom Foundation, we're going to have Fred Birnbaum on at 10:30 tomorrow morning. So all of that and more scheduled for tomorrow morning on our show. I got time for one more call. Give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget, too, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best in all the different tires you need for your car, your pickup, your SUV. They are having a big spring tire sale right now. Oh, my, and doing the right thing matters. So you'd better get in there and make sure you have the tires that are going to get you safely to Aunt Martha's and Uncle Fred back in Colorado or wherever. They've got all the tires. And like this one on sale right now, the Eclipse tire for your car, starting at just $61.74, all-season traction, advanced tread design. You better check it out today. With the absolute very best in brake service and front-end alignments and shocks and struts, all of this and more at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. With Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley. Nobody better. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Wow. Once again, I want to remind you, if you would like to have a keepsake video of the birthday party we put on for Russell Smith last week at Denny's restaurant for Lunch Bunch, let me know, and John Ellis can make the DVDs for you, and all you have to do is kind of give me a call, give me your name, and we'll take care of it. And the number to call, 312-2976. I don't know, I don't think it's going to be much of a charge, but we'll make it square with you on a low price. But I think these are excellent keepsake videos for the Russell Smith birthday party. 312-2976. Until tomorrow, we'll saddle the horse and we'll ride again for 3 hours on Zebeth Ranch starting at 8:06. And we'll look forward to having you be a part of our program with all your calls and your comments. And remember, the way things were are the way things ought to be. Wheels, take it away, buddy. We'll see you tomorrow morning.